Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is BMW differential and I'm gonna rebuild it. I will replace the bearings. I'm not sure about condition of this differential, it is second hand. I'm gonna rebuild it, change all the bearings as well as pinion bearings, and I'm gonna show you how to do it in your garage. Yes, you will need special tools, and by the way, this is pretty rare differential. It is from BMW E90 body 330X drive. Diesel, the ratio is 2.93. I will show you this ticket here, but first I need to remove it. Okay, so I drained a bit of oil. It is 16 millimeters bolts, and those are long one and all the other are short ones. So I'm going to unscrew it, of course. This is the bolts. The cover inside looks pretty good. Some seal is here. This is the oil that I drained. Looks perfect. I don't see anything there, metal shavings or whatever. Places for the seal are okay. A bit of rust here, just because it was exposed outside, but the internal side is okay. And the stop ring here. I already measured the backlash, but I'm gonna show you. So first measure it from the drive side. Drive side is kind of flat here, you see. I tried to use, this lithium grease for checking the mesh pattern, just because it's green, see how it looks like. But unfortunately it's very hard to check the backlash using such kind of grease, What worked surprisingly well, it is this anti-seize paste. If you guys rebuild differentials, share your opinion about this pattern, but it looks pretty good because you see it's pretty much in the center vertically, right? So it's not exactly at the root and it's not exactly at the top, so which means that pinion depth is correct, and also it's pretty much in the center, in terms of heel and toe, right? So it means that the backlash even is kind of correct. And this is the cost side, right? So, and as you can see, again, it's a bit higher, which is okay, I guess, for the cost side, but still, it's pretty much in the center, smooth pattern, so pretty good. So if you just replace the seal, clean all this rust here, remove the flange, put something here, something with the same diameter, kind of close it, right? Then clean all the rust here, and only after that remove the seal. The depth here is around 5.8 millimeters or something. If I put the caliper like this, maybe you can see the distance, so maybe it's 0.3 millimeters or something. In order to remove the seal, simply use something like this and hammer it. Just don't touch the housing, and you will be okay. I also put this guy here, and then simply hammer. So it looks like this. You see the metal is everywhere here, so it's pretty easy to pry it this way. The next step is to remove this big stop ring from here, but be careful because you see 368. This is the thickness of this snap ring, just because it is not just snap ring, it is also shim. So you should install it exactly on the same side. So this is the top side, basically, you see, right? Then from this side it is left side. Where is that? 3.68. Left side, and the right side is 3.78. Okay. The whole idea here, when you remove the carrier, you know, you simply need to remove the C-clips, you know, and then you will be able to move the bearings a bit either outside and remove the internal part with the bolts, you know, the separator, and do it from the other side as well. Basically do it from both sides, moving the carrier a bit. And once you remove both separators with bearings, you know, you will be able to play with the carrier, you know, and remove it. So it's pretty simple. It looks not that perfect. Again, rust here as well as here, and also this thing. I'm not sure if I did that, or maybe it was here, who knows. It's not going to affect anything. In regards to spider gears basically and ring gear, so ring gear looks good to me, you know. I cleaned it just a bit. Don't have good light, but yeah, it looks good. And the spider gears, there are some, you know, signs that, of course, they're not new, but I believe this is a good condition. Also, I believe that you should not be able to move the spider gears when it's like that, right? They should sit there, you know, perfectly without any play. And spider gears, they create this kind of sound. It is completely okay. So remove this retention ring, I guess, from here. So I guess here the preload is 0.25 Newton meters or something like that. Maybe a bit more, 0.3. or something. So the next step is to remove the flange and press pinion down, just because now the flange is keeping the pinion and also the bearing race is keeping the pinion. This is how it looks like. The seal is flush in this case, it is exactly flush. This is the inner bearing race, seal is good. And this is how, yeah, this is my lithium grease that I tried to use for checking the mesh pattern. And this is the crush sleeve. Now I will need to replace it. A lot of dirt and stuff here, not sure how it's there, that's strange. This seal is likely hard to remove, but I will try this tool and let's see how it goes. Okay, that tool plus hammer works perfectly. Okay, so the seal is okay, the surface is not damaged here. Perfect, so now I can remove the small pinion bearing. Basically the small race, it is possible to unpress it from the other side. And the big race inside, and the shim. So you see the part of race, surface and shim. I don't want to use hammer, I know that people, you know, use hammer here, but I'm not going to use hammer because there is a risk to damage the shim just a bit, you know, because when you need to use something soft here, like brass or something. I decided to remove the outer race just using my bushing skid, you know. It looks like this. So you see how it looks like. This is a bearing puller, so you see just standard one like this. So see how it's going to look like. and I'm going to press it from here. So that tool is from this bearing separators kit. So basically this is just this and those two things that I took, and extension bar, you know, super easy. This is how it looks like inside. So now everything is removed, and this is just the casing now. This is the shim which controls pinion depth. So as you can see, you can't easily use the bearing separator here, you know, as well as it's trickier to cut it with the normal side grinder, and there is no way to use bearing puller in this case. From this side it is kind of better, just because there is some distance here that you can use for a puller or something, but according to my experience usually it's hard to unmount them even using the puller. Okay, so I removed both of them, so you see how they look like, you know, and another one. I removed both of them, and from this side it's perfect, literally no issues here, you see, I mean completely perfect. But from this side, unfortunately, I touched it a bit with the Dremel, and also my screwdriver that I used. You can use chisel, you know, a couple of times. You know, I touched this part. But other than that, everything else is perfect. It is just a cosmetic defect, you know. It's not a big deal. I used sandpaper 600 and then I polished it using 2500 sandpaper, so it's good, no issues here at all. When you break them with chisel, you know, put some rack or something like that, just to be on the safe side, you know, just because since it is hardened metal, it can easily jump, you know, straight in the face direction, so be careful. So in this case, in case of the Pinion, theoretically you can try to use press. If you use this guy, you know, you can place it. It is actually designed to separate the bearing, so theoretically you should try to put it here, but it's impossible. This is hardened steel, so you will just break this, you know. But you can put it here, you know, basically. Yeah, I mean, you need to make it bigger, put like that, and then you will be able to put it on the press. Another way that you can think of is to heat it, you know, but in order to heat it you need to have a oxy-fuel torch, you know, just because you need very high temperature here. If you use just propane can, you know, map torch kind of, unlikely you're going to remove it this way, just because you need to heat the race real quick. There is a risk to overheat the Pinion just because it was hardened and then tempered. The best way is to use sandblasting, of course, in order to clean all that rust, you know, but I'm gonna use just side grinder drills, you know, wire brushes, sandpapers and stuff like that. This is how it looks like right before the painting, after degreasing. It's been painted and I will need to wait for 7 days to bake it. This is VHT engine paint, special one. This is urethane ceramic paint. It is high temperature, you know, chemical resistant. So it's great for such purposes. I'm going to use all new dust covers and I will paint them as well. Let's talk about the bearings. So those bearings, which are the axle bearings, they're usually okay, and you can see the surface here, it's great, no issues, and basically you don't need to replace those bearings. I mean, there are something, they are not new, definitely. You see, it is not, it's not dirt, it is not perfect surface, but this bearing, it doesn't create noises, as well as the inner race, you know, it's great. And the balls itself, you know, no any issues here. And the most interesting part is pinion bearings. This is the small pinion bearing, which is near the seal, near the flange. Let's inspect the big race, and you see the condition here is worse, definitely worse than the axle bearings. You see some, it is very beginning of kind of damages here, right? You see just a bit, but it is already there. It doesn't create noise, you won't hear it from the car, but when you rotate it by hand, you hear that it's kind of increased. You know, you see it? This is the inner race. Sure, what is that? Okay. Inner race looks good to me. And the balls. This is the smallest balls here. Separator. And this is the big pinion bearing, inner one, you know. It is near the gear itself, inside. Okay, the inner race, not that bad, right? Not that bad. And the big race, and big race, I think this is the worst one, because you see, I mean, it's not dirt, as I said. It is signs of that it's not new anymore, you know. But you see how it looks like, right? It's definitely not perfect. So this is the reason of slightly increased noise in this case. It's not bad, but if you have old differential more than 200k kilometers, it's just safer to replace all the bearings. Those bearings usually they last a lot longer, you see. The most loaded thing here, it is the pinion. So those bearings, I have read that usually it is this small bearing. But also in my case, as you can see, this one, it's worse. So it all leads to increased noise. In this case, it's not critical and it would work. But since I'm rebuilding it, I want to have a perfect differential. I'm going to use this bearing kit. It is actually kind of differential rebuild kit that you can easily find. It consists of the following. So the big bearing, pinion bearing, the small pinion bearing. Can see it. 2 seals for axles, pinion seal. What I see already is that the pinion seal is a bit different, not like original one. This is the axial bearings. You know, FAG, by the way, you see FAG or FAG, Germany, and the seal. And also this is new crush sleeve and the holder, you know, for the nut. Crush sleeve, you need to replace it. So basically this is the full rebuild kit that I'm gonna use. And let's check this big bearing and compare it with mine. No any issues. And this is how the inner race looks like. I like new bearings more than the old one, you know, because of the separator, and the sizes should be completely the same. So theoretically, bearing replace should not affect pinion depth, mesh pattern, and backlash. Okay, time to assemble the differential, and the first thing is to press the inner bearing race to the pinion. This is the big pinion bearing. So I cleaned everything here, and now it's ready. I will put some oil here and just press it. The big bearing race should be pressed here, and this is the spacer there, 3.55 millimeters. So you should place it there and then press the big bearing race. And the bearing race tends to, you know, go kind of not super even, and that's why I'm going to hit this place before I'm pressing the bearing race. And now I need to press it using the old bearing race. Okay, so it's pressed completely. The next thing is to press the small bearing race here, but I'm going to use old one so far. So this is the old bearing, and this is also the old one. I'm going to use it with the old crush sleeve just because I'm going to pre-assemble the differential and just check the mesh pattern and just to double check whether everything is okay or not. Why I'm doing that? Because since I'm replacing the bearings, something can go wrong with mesh pattern, and I have those spacers from different differentials from others, the same 188 LW. So that one 3.55. I think I have 3.6, maybe 3.5. Need to check, but I have the other spacer just in case. And why this bearing is old? I can install new, but if then I will need to disassemble it, I would need to press the pinion basically down, and this bearing is going to get some load. So that's why I better press another one later when I double check to not to disturb the bearing. I know that it's basically not needed step and you can just use normal bearing, new one here, but just in case. So this bearing race, the old one pressed, the old bearing basically itself, and The old crush sleeve is here, and now I need to put the pinion from the other side, put the flange, you know, here, and press it to the pinion from the other side, basically. So basically this is how it looks like. So now the small inner bearing is being pressed, you know, so like that. So I put the nut, you know, put the flange. Some preload is set. This is the original flange from this differential, you know. Some preload is set. It's near zero, you know. This bearing, I think, most of the noise from this old one. So no play, and definitely there is some insignificant preload. So now I'm sure that the pinion depth is kind of correct for this setup, just because the pinion is pressed and not is keeping it, and I can check the mesh pattern if I install the carrier. The next step is to install those bearing races to the carrier. This is the right side. I think that the mesh pattern looks okay, and I'm not going to adjust it, and I'm not going to adjust the pinion depth because it looks correct. So I'm going to disassemble everything, and I need to replace the small pinion bearing. The backlash is the same like it was before. It's again 0.12, maybe 0.13, maybe a bit less. Before pinion installation, make sure that the bearing races are pressed completely. There is you know, the spacer, so it should not move, and the same from the other side. So make sure that it is sitting here perfectly. So before assembly, put the layer of oil on the races, and the same basically on this side. A new crush sleeve is here. Those bolts and the inner race, I put oil there, oil on this surface, and the small bearing and the flange. Basically the idea is to put the pinion, you know, from there, put the bearing on top of it and the flange, and then press the pinion. Now the casing has some play because I just press the pinion, you know, to the small bearing, and the crush sleeve is not engaged at all. So I need to either press it more now until I have a very small play, or I can do it using the nut, you know, depends on you, but the idea is to leave the very small play there, very small play. So I'm going to use nut because my press is not enough to crush the crush sleeve. So see the play. This is the play now, and I'm going to screw this nut until this play is very small. Okay, so I crushed the crush sleeve a bit. See, the play now is pretty insignificant. I mean, it's there, but now the crush sleeve is kind of, it's very hard to crush it in the very beginning, but then it goes easier. So I removed oil from the surface, from this surface, you know, where the seal connects, basically touches the housing, and I'm gonna to install the seal. Okay, the seal has been installed and it is flush. You see the sealant here a bit, just in case. Thin layer, you know. So the next step is to install the flange. Basically put the oil on the flange surface and install it. Also, I'm going to use anti-seize paste for the splines, and let's see how it's gonna look like. I also installed speedy sleeve on the flange, so that the surface now is like new. Regarding speedy sleeve, why I installed it, just because this is, you know, place where the seal worked, and I decided to make it perfect because speedy sleeve from SKF brand, you know, it's not expensive and they have the needed diameter here for this flange. This is original flange from that differential, but I installed another flange which is balanced with my prop shaft, I believe. Original flange from my car. Speedy sleeve looks like this. Basically the sleeve itself, it looks like that, see it, and you can basically press it using this tool, and this is the sleeve as well. The number 99177, this is the sleeve which fits the input flange for this differential. So anti-seize paste is there and the flange is ready for installation, and don't forget to put the oil on the flange where the seal contacted. So the flange is installed, and the next step is nut, and put here thread locker and on the thread as well. So the thread locker is going to protect it from potential oil leakage through the splines. As far as I know, those differentials kind of don't leak from here, because I know some people assemble them even without all that, but it's needed. So basically you need to seal that surface, and also I will clean that surface with the rag now. The nut is installed. You see the thread locker, blue one by the way, not red. And I already set the preload. So see, now it's not that easy, a bit tight. The preload is around 0.5 Newton meters. .5 Newton meters, maybe 0.6. Another wrench, again 0.5, 0.6. Maybe it's easier to see the preload. From this angle. Exactly 0.5, maybe 0.6. And the retainer ring is installed. So simply hammer it here and here, you know, with chisel or whatever, and it's gonna look like that. It is last resort thing, you know, in case if this nut is totally unscrewed somehow. And compare the sound with another differential, but with the same bearing condition, and it was working one. The sound was not noticeable from inside of the car, but let's just compare. So this is after assembly and pinion preload is set. Since I'm here, I decided to make a leakage test, so I put 1 liter of transmission oil here, you know, and rotated the pinion a bit. And the differential is kind of upside down now, you know, and I will leave it overnight to see if there is any leakage, and then recheck the preload again, and if everything is okay, I believe I'm good. Here it's not necessary at all, and it's not gonna leak, I believe, but it's a good test, you know. So the right side is 3.78 shim, 3.68. So when you install the snap ring, make sure that you don't block the oil channel here, just because if you block it, you know, in this case less oil will go to the bearing. And also regarding the seal, actually you can pretty much completely press it until the snap ring, so don't be afraid that you would overpress it. But the depth here is around 6 millimeters if you measure it from this surface, so it should be recessed a bit. And also make sure that this number is visible here and that the snap ring is sitting properly. I use the seals from the Look kit. Okay, seal is installed. 6.6, 6.7 millimeters, you know, depth here I measured, and now put some light coat of oil, the same on the flange, and hammer on the flange. And right side. As I already said, it's pretty tolerant to the, you know, depth, installation depth. So anything in between 6 and 7 millimeters. Both seals are installed like 6.7 millimeters, 6.6, 6.7 recessed. I believe it's completely okay. It's even good because on the flanges I have the old place where seal contacted it, and if it's deeper, it's actually better. So this is the surface on the flange, and as you can see, you can install it significantly deeper. Old bearing braces fits perfectly to press the seal. I think this is the nearly perfect pattern, and in general about this differential, you can replace bearings without thinking much about mesh pattern, because it seems like bearings are pretty precise. And by the way, the outer races of new bearings are bigger a bit. I mean, the height is higher, you know. You can also see the pattern on the pinion. This is the coast side. It's also perfect. This time I used this gear marking compound, if you are interested in. This is the proper one, and it is compatible with transmission oil. Backlash is without changes, 0.13. .14, and now that sound comes from the, you know, pinion, because there is no oil. I think I put too much sealant compound, but it's gonna work. So the cover is installed. Those bolts, 3 long, 5 short, 22 Newton meters torque. And by the way, don't forget to clean this hole and spray it with brake cleaner, you know, just because it's important. Otherwise, you know, pressure buildup will be happening inside the differential. So now I need to wait 24 hours and I will be able to fill it with oil. And new bolts everywhere, so those are the bolts. If you need the number, this is the number. For the car with automatic transmission. And those 6 bolts for each side, this is the number. I put the original mark like it should be for differential, for the prop shaft. So regarding preload, why preload 0.5 Newton meters? First, there are no official specs for that at all, and I disassembled 2 differentials exactly the same, and in one case and both of them were in working condition, and they created a bit of noise on the pinion, which is not noticeable from the car, but when you rotate it by hand you basically can notice that. And in one case the preload was around 0.2 Newton meters, in another case it was 0.3 or something like that, and mileage in both cases more than 200k. So keeping that in mind, I think that it's fair to say that like preload decreased from, let's say, 30% to 50%, for instance. Sounds kind of logical to me. It's also ball bearings, you know, 50% is unlikely, like 30%. And based on that, 0.2, 0.3 Newton meters, working differential, 0.5 sounds reasonable. This is the first thing. Second, I found this value in the internet from guys who rebuild differentials, such BMW differentials, and in particular this one, and they say that from 0.4 to 0.6 Newton meters it's okay. So basically 0.5 sounds reasonable. Also, it is ball bearings, not roller bearings, so that's why high preload values, frictional torque, you know, like more than 1 Newton meters, is bad for such bearings. You know, preload should be very small for those. It depends on bearing size and other parameters, but 0.5 for this particular Diff 188LW ball bearings. I also noticed that some people said no preload, but I don't think it's a good idea. Yes, it will work, but there are risks associated with that. Let's measure the full preload. The carrier is installed, flange is installed, seals. The oil is only a thin layer on bearings and seals. The crown gear is without oil. So the full preload in this case 0.75, 0.875. Yeah, 0.875. basically up to 1 Newton meter, you can say. So it means that if I subtract 0.5 preload, it means that the carrier preload is around from 0.3 to 0.4 Newton meters. This is the oil that I put in the differential, exactly 1 liter. This is 188 LW, 1 liter capacity. And I also put this additive. So 20 grams, you know, it's exactly enough for 1 liter. Of course, install the new drain plug. One last thing that I need to put here is this sticker. I need to come up with something which will work in such conditions, but I will do it. It's original sticker and I want to save it here. Thank you for watching, guys. Differential rebuild is completed, my first one. I think it's successful and everything is gonna be okay. I already checked oil leakages. Looks perfect. Everything looks great.